Britain will get its second female Prime Minister later this week. Home Secretary Theresa May will get the keys to Downing Street on Wednesday. That's when David Cameron says he'll leave number 10 for the last time after a bruising 3 weeks, which have shaken Britain's political establishment to the core. We can go live now to Westminster and RT's Polly Boyko to give us the latest updates. Polly, another day of rapid developments where you are.
Yeah, I think the political journalists here in London have got rather tired of talking about the extraordinary events that are taking place, but it was all rather unexpected. Yet again, David Cameron emerged and gave a very short statement talking about how he's going to leave by Wednesday night, which means that, as we predicted earlier on today, before the end of the week, we are going to have Prime Minister May in Downing Street. What kind of a woman is she? Well, she's known for being very tough, very serious, diligent, hard-working woman. Take a listen to how one former colleague described her when he thought that the cameras and the microphones had been turned off.
Teresa's a bloody difficult woman, but you and I work for Margaret Thatcher.
She played on that comment. She said that the next person to call her bloody difficult is going to be the President of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, because of the way she's going to behave during the Brexit negotiations. She wants to present herself as being as tough as possible and protecting Britain's interests in those negotiations for the UK to leave the European Union. But of course, the EU is an issue that she's flip-flopped on in the past. She was officially, just a few weeks ago, in the Remain campaign. She publicly backed staying in the European Union, and many saw that because many thought that was because she thought that was the side that was going to win, and therefore that would secure her the best chances of being David Cameron's successor later on. She did hardly any campaigning in order to stay as neutral as possible, really, and to be palatable to both in and out voters after the vote. And lo and behold, when it turned out to be Brexit, she suddenly embraced it, she accepted it, and she said that there's no way back. Take a listen.
Are you going to stand, Miss?
Brexit means Brexit. The campaign was fought, the vote was held, turnout was high, and the public gave their verdict.
That's not the only thing that she's shifted positions on recently. She's had to change her position on the matter of EU citizens living in the UK in recent days. When she first announced her leadership bid, she failed to guarantee the rights of EU nationals who were living in the UK until Brexit negotiations were underway, and she had first secured the rights for UK citizens to live in Europe. Now, that got a lot of criticism because it meant that a lot of EU citizens here in the UK were left in a very precarious situation. She ended up having to soften her position because of that criticism. That she said that as long as British nationals living in the EU were good to stay, then EU nationals here in the UK were good to stay as well. She's had to make another U-turn in recent days. She's been a long-standing critic of the European Convention on Human Rights and the fact that Britain had to sign up to it and follow whatever judgments they make. She's wanted to scrap it for a really long time. As recently as back in April, she said that if we want to reform human rights laws in this country, it isn't the EU we should leave, but it's the ECHR and the jurisdiction of its court. But yet, she's now said, since, becoming the leadership contender, she said, I've set my position on the ECHR out very clearly, but I also recognise that this is an issue that divides people, and the reality is there will be no parliamentary majority for pulling out. So this is something I'm not going to pursue. And I think this really just shows what sort of a pragmatic politician Theresa May is and has had to be in the run-up to becoming Prime Minister. She said a lot of things over the past 6 years. She's aware that she's going to be under even more scrutiny now than before, and she's having to sacrifice some of her earlier positions in order to take up that top job.
It's going to be a tough weeks and months for her with those negotiations as well with Juncker and, of course, other EU officials. RT's Polly Boyko there bring us the latest from Westminster.